This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove and everything that we're talking about here today. Okay, so we're going to go over like 3 things that you need to know before liftoff, or about liftoff, I should say. And I think it is the most pertinent areas for all of us as speculators in this space to really pay close attention to. And I think we're going to see solid evidence of that today. So before we get into that, I do want to do the numbers. Let me go ahead and do the numbers, guys. The numbers are brought to you today by Unstoppable Domains. These guys are absolutely living up to their name. They are unstoppable. I have had countless comments and DMs from all of you, or a lot of you out here, that have gotten some incredible domain names. Oh my gosh. I am organizing how I'm going to do this. I can't help everybody because I get a lot of messages, but I'm going to help. I'm going to grab some of these ones that I think are really pertinent, that probably could do well, and I'm going to grab a few here and there and throw out that you guys have bought, and try to see if we can't get some attention to the domain that you bought for you. Because that's how big I think this is. And I really do believe it. And I'll tell you something. Last night I was sitting down. I was on the couch. We were just about to watch a movie. And I said, you know what? I'm going to see if cryptoiras.crypto is available. And it was. And I bought it. So pretty soon that's going to be available too. So, all right, let's go ahead and do the numbers. $10,345.90. Ethereum, $371.08, and then XRP is 24 cents. Drilling down on XRP numbers, 0.2426, and we are looking at 24-hour volume is up about 0.5%. We are at 1.4 billion on the 24-hour, and the total circulating supply is 45 billion, 11 million plus. The market cap is 10.9 billion. Those are your numbers. Okay, so let's get into this. 3 things we need to know about liftoff. And, you know, one of the things that we're looking at before we get started on that, well, you know what? In fact, let's do this because I like to let people understand that I stay on top of this. Ripple IPO watch, ladies and gentlemen. There is nothing to report, but I just want to remind you that we constantly monitor this for you. Now, one of the things I did want to point out is I did see this post, and I thought I retweeted it. Maybe I did with a quote, but I'm gonna retweet it again because it's really good for Ripple. Good news here is the current status of Ripple SPV units, which is what they hold and sell to you. They actually hold the actual Ripple stock in escrow. This allows Ripple to sell to somebody like Link2, and allows private accredited investors, if you qualify. But I know there's a lot of people that do. I've been contacted by them. So if you do, the reason that they sell SPV units is because if they were to sell, if Ripple were to sell directly to accredited investors, they would have so many people buying it that they would have to report publicly to the SEC. Going through somebody like Link2 allows them to to buy that, put it in an escrow, and sell you the SPV, allowing Ripple to be able to sell the stock without having to report in that public fashion that way. So it's nothing bad. It's just a good thing. I just wanted to explain it. But here's the thing that really got me here is I noticed that the price has been ticking up since August. And here's the good news to that is I remember seeing that Ripple's stock is valued at like 60. It was over $60. And I think I saw that not long ago. So if they're selling right now and it says it's still active, it's at $31.50. So I just thought that was something of note, knowing that at some point Brad Garlinghouse did say Ripple plans to IPO. So I don't know how long it lasts, but there it is. And there's your spot on that. So let's keep this thing moving here, because Ripple is moving regardless, and they're hiring a technical services engineer from Mumbai, India. And the technical services engineer will be providing first-class service and support for their financial institutions' customers using Ripple's mission-critical software to make payments across the world. Now, again, I made the example the other day. I'm not hiring a crane operator because I don't run a crane operating business. sometimes we have to make sure that we look at the information and clearly see what it is. And what it is Ripple continuing to grow and expand around the world, just like the last job offering that we saw was the expansion of their Bank Secrecy Act compliance team to analyze all the data coming across the XRP ledger. And here we see an expansion into Mumbai, India for a technical services engineer. So apparently they are in the payments and banking business, and they're not slowing down, right? That's the important thing. There's what's the note right there. Now, let's get into the reminder that the U.S. budget deficit hit an all-time high of $3 trillion for the first time in 11 months of this budget year. The Treasury Department said Friday. Well, thanks for that. Who invited the good news bear? Somebody get him some honey. That's nothing but bad news, and that's why I brought it up, is to remind people domestically here at home is really what's the narrative around the world. There is a liquidity crisis, there is a global crisis, and there's been a deliberate shutdown, and it all is mounting to a point. And I think we're going to see evidence of that because of what the motion is of the next pieces of news. Next piece of news is here, and shout out to Michael Val, 5 Links, XRP Crypto Wolf, DJ Peter Vass, and everyone else who sends news. The head of France's central bank has spoken of the potential benefits of private sector involvement in the development and issuance of a future European digital currency. Well, you don't say. You don't say. This, to me, is one of those leading indicators where it has been a constant conversation, specifically talking about domestically here at home, about the Fed does not want to do a public-private relationship, according to Jerome Powell. But I think in order to be a leader in this fintech, blockchain, crypto space, it's the only way to bridge the gap and get to the front of the line. Here we see France's central bank, the head of that, is spoken, and he clearly gets it. And the news is reinforced. European central banker says digital euro would complement rather than replace existing systems. The CBDC would support innovation by providing an alternative to private forms of money for fast and efficient payments in Europe and beyond. You can see, and maybe you don't, but I think you should take a look at it if you're not seeing it, and understand how important digital dollars and central bank digital currency are to the entire ecosystem here. You know, whether they do a 2-tier and use a CBDC, because they could go a couple different ways with this, right? But the reality is they need to move to a digital transformation here. They need to move to a new digital payment system. And the on and off ramp, whether it is back end for the central banks or whether it's a full-on rollout with a digital dollar, it's got to happen to the degree that the involvement and the inclusiveness is there. And that's the big picture on that. CBDCs, digital dollars, and stablecoins are extremely important to this entire ecosystem because they become the on and off ramp to participate at every single level, from consumer to financial institution. They become the on and off ramp for participation in this new financial system. Make no mistake about it. Policymakers from Germany, France, Italy, Spain, and the Netherlands said stablecoins should be regulated within the EU. They specifically called out Facebook's Libra. The European Commission will likely weigh in with regulatory proposals later this month. This is another clear away sign that the world gets it. The world gets it. The policymakers are getting it. And what does this come down to? This comes down to the banking financial system. This comes down to the regulatory agencies. And we'll see as well, this comes down to also the legislative side, right? So leaked draft shows European Union set to be the first major jurisdiction to regulate cryptocurrencies. Now, this comes from Crypto Whale. I did not see a link when I read through this the first time that takes you to any other information other than this article. But I do believe that this is accurate. So, what I would say is that all the evidence of the news is pointing exactly to this, that the European Union is going to be a leader in taking steps forward in regulating cryptocurrencies. And to that point, I wanted to remind people that Michelle Bond from Ripple even made these statements that strongly align with this article and this narrative, that they were looking to the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority of UK, to be a leader and take a leading role position in how they were going to handle and regulate cryptocurrencies. And Michelle Bond said that they thought that the FCA had a good approach when it comes to cryptocurrencies, and we do know that they have got a foot ahead of the, one or two steps ahead actually of the United States on the regulatory issue. And I think that the U.S. is going to align with the UK on that measure in great degree. So moving forward, we see even more news here. This is from MSN and Bloomberg. So EU aims for tight grip on digital currencies to stave off risks. And this is what it comes down to. They know that the pie is getting bigger. They understand that regulation has got to be the regulators have got to be the referee on the field. We saw in the early days how regulatory agencies and regulators themselves came out in this space, the Jay Claytons, the Hester Peirce, and they were all here. And I'm speaking domestically here as an example, but, widely in the early days of an emerging market, regulators are the educators to, well, this is how you come see us and we'll show you what to do. Remember Jay Clayton saying these things? If you're not sure what you are, you come see us and we'll help you understand what you are, right? You come file with us, you come sit with us. And that is the early days of an emerging market where they're telling you, we'll educate you on what you need to do with your business and where you need to be, right? Well, at this point, now they're tight, aims for a tight grip on digital currencies to stave off the risk. Well, just like we saw the ICOs get crushed in 2018, then they came out and said they're going to be the enforcer and they're going to show you just how strong of an arm and a hand they have. And that's exactly what they did. And here again, now we're talking about, the threat to financial stability with something like Libra or even other projects, and how to stave off that risk by putting in the right regulatory framework that would absolutely guarantee that that can't happen in a great degree. So let's keep this moving. Zemo's blog post says that the platform for digital cash wires, which uses Ripple on-demand liquidity service, has recently joined forces with Chinese giant Alipay. Yep. It just keeps getting bigger. Alipay is enormous. The thing I wanted to point out to add to this news here, and shout out to Michael Val 5 Links, but the thing I wanted to build on this point here is, remember when Brad Garlinghouse said that currently right now we can't facilitate the demand for ODL and XRP cross-border payment settlement right now at the current price. They can't facilitate the demand for it. Now, this is a massive call to action from Brad Garlinghouse, because in my mind, this is a call to action really indirectly to regulators to give us the designation that we need, that they have held back intentionally, I believe. I really do believe that, and I believe that it's time, because now the narrative has changed. Because instead of going all around the world and trying to convince people to use it, which was at one time the order of the day for Ripple about XRP, and having to explain what it is and all of these things, there's not as much explaining going on these days and just more demand to use it. You can save me money? Fine, let me use it. But when it comes to banks and institutions, if they're not clear about what it is, what is the designation? What is the classification of this asset? Is it a currency? Is it a commodity? How am I taxed? Where is the real benefit if I don't know what it is? And that, to me, speaks volumes, because I believe the moment that they come out and say what it is, it's going to make our head spins. very quickly. So, okay, so keep it moving here. And then we talk about the news we brought up yesterday. Shout out to Cryptopolis for a great show yesterday. It was so good to see and sit with him. Bitstamp and Bank of America integrations with Integromat, right? Integromat. Now, this was brought to us by Jacinto Mendez, who I actually had a chance to meet in Singapore. Seemed like a nice fella. And shout out to him for sharing this with everybody. But this is interesting because now you have the ability to integrate Bitstamp and Bank of America together with all of these different platforms and services. And we're talking about massive stuff like Shopify. We're talking about Facebook. We're talking about Citibank, all other banks. We're talking about your email contact list. We're talking about Google. We're talking about so many things in here, all your email, Facebook. I mean, the list is really endless. Global payments, web pay, Google Calendar, Google Contacts, Google Maps. I mean, look at the possibilities here are just endless. Instagram. And now you're integrating all of this to receive or send crypto. With the integration of Bank of America and Bitstamp. Now, this is another thing that reminds me, too, even a fourth thing for that matter. I think when you start to see these kinds of relationships be announced in this way, I think we're starting to see in a great degree those NDAs, those non-disclosure agreements begin to wear off. And that is exciting because I think it only gets bigger from here. So, again, pointing out regulation, legislation, and CBDCs are three things areas we need to be paying very close attention to before liftoff and to know about how we get liftoff, to be perfectly honest with you. And pointing to the regulation and the integration of Bitstamp and Bank of America, I can't help but think, and I'm sure you guys are thinking it right now too, OCC, Brian Brooks, OCC. Brian Brooks. The last thing he said to all of us was that over the coming weeks and months, you're going to see a constant cadence of comments coming from the OCC about how to regulate cryptocurrencies with the federally chartered banking system. And then we're going to see a federal charter release too very soon. So that is exciting. Now, moving on here, this is exciting because this is from @DigitalVestor. Federal Reserve banks will provide digital wallets for all residents and citizens in the United States starting January 1st, 2021. Well, that's great, but they got to pass it. And just looking at this is from Senator Brown. And basically here it says it has been introduced. Now, it's not passed the Senate, House, or been signed by the president to become law. But nevertheless, it does state here it is a bill that requires member banks to maintain pass-through digital dollar wallets for certain persons and for other purposes. That is the overview here. So the truth is this. It's in the works. And to me, the stage is set. And I do believe that all of these things that we're talking about here today, when we're talking about the regulatory side and getting what we need for the federally chartered banking system, when we get a classification and a designation of what XRP actually is, which I believe is a currency, or at least treated as such, you can call it whatever you want. But the reality is you get that in order. And you get the CBDCs in place and the digital wallets for everyone around the world in place. We can then see a launch off of those two things because I believe we need those two sides of the equation first. Then they can develop the legislation. Remember, the regulatory agencies, FSOC, and OCC and FinCEN do not need Congress's approval to put the word out on the street that this is the way it is. And OCC and FSOC cannot be trumped by another regulatory body like the SEC. So whatever they decide, it could become the regulatory sandbox, and I believe that it will from Brian Brooks and the OCC. This gives us a run of 6 months, a year, maybe even 18 months. Let the innovation and the tech prove out. Let's see where obviously there has to be enough of a structure there that to adhere to, so we can't have the real bad, obvious bad actors in the system. And I think they can do that just the way they did with the internet. And I also believe Brian Brooks is the guy with the perfect perspective and vision to get that done. However, you let that run for a little bit, and then you start to see what innovation in tech begins to survive or not. And then you can truly legislate what actually works and not the hypothetical about the space, which could be very, very harmful, I believe, if you legislate too early. All right, so there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Leave a comment below, and make sure you check out Unstoppable Domains. But before you go, guys, I got another newsletter about to come out. If you have not gotten on the newsletter, I want to let you know that I do have a block of educational courses. The link is in there, right beside it, above or underneath it, one or the other. If you have a family member or something interested in getting into crypto, is a very simple and a very affordable course. And I'm going to be adding some bonus content to that very soon as well. So make sure you get on that newsletter and get on the rich list, because there's going to be some exclusive content always in that newsletter for each and every one of you. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I will catch all of you on the next one.